Mizuto and Yume were once a couple when they were in junior high school. However, they decided to break up because of a misunderstanding between them. But it seems fate had other plans. They were reunited within the same family and became step-siblings because their parents got married. From that point on, they were forced to live together and pretend to get along in front of their parents. The story begins by showing the two step-siblings starting their daily life with constant arguments. They often bicker over trivial things. This happens because Mizuto and Yume used to date back in junior high school. Now, they are forced to live under the same roof because their parents are married. In this new life, they agreed to pretend to get along when in front of their parents.
二人ともうまくやれてるみたいでよかったよ。
本当よね。わかってる。
何が？
二人を後悔させるようなことしちゃダメだから。
わかっているよ。僕と君との関係は墓場まで持っていく。
よろしい。
After dinner, Yume approached Mizuto and said that she felt disturbed by how he referred to her. Therefore, Yume asked Mizuto to call her older sister from now on. However, Mizuto refused. He felt that as the boy, he was more deserving to be called older brother.
私が姉よ。あなたの妹とかおぞけが走るわ。
こっちだって君の弟になるとかまっぴらごめんだ。
Since this issue could not be resolved, they decided to settle it with a game. The rules were quite simple. They had to pretend to get along in front of their parents and hide the fact that they used to date. And if one of them got caught, the winner would be called older sibling. After that, Yume immediately searched through Mizuto's belongings to provoke him. This made Mizuto panic because he was afraid Yume would find out about his personal items. Therefore, Mizuto said sweet words that reminded Yume of their past memories.
はいアウト。さて、じゃあ最初だシンプルにいこうか。
And according to the rules, Yume, who lost, had to call Mizuto older brother.
お兄ちゃん。
The next day, their parents took them to their new high school. By coincidence, they were placed in the same class. During the welcoming ceremony, Yume was chosen as the representative of the new students. This made her popular among the other students. Unlike Yume, Mizuto was a quiet student who had no friends at all. What was even sadder was that whenever he made friends, they just used him as a stepping stone to get closer to Yume. After school, Yume immediately scolded Mizuto for staying silent when she was insulted. However, Mizuto didn't seem to care much and told her not to interfere in his personal matters. The next day, Yume forced Mizuto to go to school together. She had to do this to keep Mizuto away from the people who bothered him.
ごめんなさい。今は私が水戸と話しているから。
二人は兄弟なんだよね。
ええ、悪かったわね。ブラコンで。
At home, their parents informed them that they would be coming home late. Therefore, they had no choice but to cook for themselves. While they were choosing what to eat, Yume suddenly remembered the incident from that morning. She asked Mizuto to forget about it, but Mizuto said he had already forgotten without being told. Hearing this made Yume upset. She felt that she wasn't attractive enough in Mizuto's eyes. Then, Yume planned to tease Mizuto. She wanted to see his reaction when she appeared wearing only a towel. However, soon after, Yume realized she had gone too far. To make matters worse, her towel suddenly slipped off, making the situation even more intense. But, unexpectedly, Mizuto managed to resist temptation and gave his jacket to cover Yume's body. However, when Yume was about to go to her room, she tripped and nearly caused a tense moment between them. At the same time, their parents suddenly arrived, forcing Yume to hide under the sofa.
早い。
ただいま。どうすれば。
あ、水戸は一人か？
おかえり、父さん、ユニさん。ユメさんなら先に寝たよ。
ようやく楽になれたはずなのに。もしお母さんたちが帰ってこなかったら。
The next day, Mizuto was approached by a classmate named Kawanami. Unlike Mizuto's previous friends, Kawanami genuinely wanted to befriend him without any hidden motives. On the other hand, Yume made a new friend named Minami, who was skilled in sports. During the fitness test, Minami showed her athletic skills, making Yume jealous. It turned out that Yume was not very good at sports, but she still worked hard to get perfect scores. Because she pushed herself too hard, Yume almost fainted, and luckily Mizuto came just in time to help her. Then, Minami took Yumi to the school nurse's office. There, they honestly shared their weaknesses, which brought them closer as friends. The next day, Yumi did not go to school because she had a high fever. Knowing this, Minami asked Mizuto to allow her to visit Yume after school. Then, they went to the supermarket and bought ingredients to make porridge for Yume.
はい、ゆめちゃん。どう？おいしい？
僕は何を見せられているんだ。
After that, Minami said goodbye and went straight home. While Mizuto was keeping Yumi company, Yumi asked him to hold her hand until she fell asleep. This reminded Mizuto of their memories when they were dating back in junior high school. They often spent time together like a young couple in a romantic novel. However, when they graduated from junior high, they had to separate because of a misunderstanding. Back to the present, Yume, who had just woken up, suddenly asked for troublesome things. She wanted ice cream and other things that were a hassle. Suspicious, Mizuto checked her temperature again and found out that Yume's condition had improved. However, she was still pretending to be sick to keep getting Mizuto's attention.
いつから治ってた？
ノーコメント。
病人のふりして僕をこき使ってたわけじゃないだろうな。
聞こえない！何にも覚えてない！
One day, right after finishing her shower, Yume found Mizuto's underwear lying on the floor. She picked it up, intending to return it. But their mother suddenly came in, so Yume had to hide it to avoid misunderstandings. However, out of curiosity, Yume sniffed the fabric to recognize Mizuto's unique scent.
これじゃまるで欲求不満のひも手じゃないの。ネクラはとっくの昔に卒業したはずなのに。
After that incident, Yume felt regretful. She feared being labeled as a perverted little sister for sniffing her stepbrother's underwear. Then, she planned to return the clothing before Mizuto caught her. After everyone had fallen asleep, Yume sneaked out to return the item. Unexpectedly, she ran into Mizuto, who was also carrying Yume's clothes. Then, the two step-siblings gathered for an important meeting to discuss the underwear incident. There, they explained why they took each other's personal belongings. Since it was a pure accident, they agreed to make peace with each other. After school, Yumi saw Mizuto alone with an innocent-looking girl at a food stall. This made Yume jealous because the girl looked very similar to how Yumi looked when she dated Mizuto before. When she got home, Yumi was surprised again by a pair of shoes that probably belonged to the girl who was with Mizuto earlier. She suspected that Mizuto had been intimate with the girl while she was not at home. However, when asked, Mizuto said he didn't know anything about the girl visiting his house. Even stranger, the shoes Yume saw suddenly disappeared without a trace. From this, Mizuto realized that Minami was behind it. Previously, Minami had suddenly asked him out with the intention to marry. Minami seemed very obsessed with Yume. She was even willing to marry Mizuto just to get closer to Yume.
イリド君と結婚したらゆめちゃんの妹になれるから
は？
ねえ結婚してよ私尽くすタイプだよ
Then Mizuto contacted Kawanami and asked for help to solve his problem with Minami. Kawanami shared Minami's past, explaining that once Minami became obsessed with someone, she would keep approaching them until that person was destroyed. Therefore, Kawanami suggested Mizuto take Yume on a date to get rid of Minami's obsession with Yume. Following this advice, Mizuto invited Yume on a date. This time, Mizuto wore neat clothes, making Yume mesmerized by his appearance. During the date, Yume kept a cold expression, but deep down she was crazy about Mizuto's looks, exactly like her ideal man.
やばい何この知的生活訳あり結婚青年手を握ってる
As planned during the date, Kawanami followed Minami from a distance. The goal was for Minami to see how close Mizuto and Yume were, and to give up her intention to marry Mizuto. To make the plan succeed, Mizuto had to act like Yume's real boyfriend.
ああもうなんだ なの今日のこの男は。すごい紳士、優しい。いつまで肩を抱いてるつもり？
悪い。
Later, Mizuto went to the restroom and left Yume alone. But since Yume wasn't good at reading maps, she got lost and had to wait for Mizuto to come pick her up. Because of this incident, Yume remembered her first date with Mizuto. Back then, she also got separated from Mizuto because of the crowd. In her despair, Mizuto suddenly appeared from behind the crowd, handing her a can of drink. It seemed that moment was repeating itself in the present.
お迎えに上がりました、お嬢様。
Then, when the date ended, Minami suddenly approached Mizuto and apologized to him. She admitted that she had previously entered Mizuto's house without his permission. She also promised not to interfere with their lives anymore. When they arrived home, Yume told Mizuto to strike a pose. She couldn't resist how handsome her stepbrother looked and took his picture so she could admire it whenever and wherever she wanted. The next day, Yume accidentally saw Mizuto praying for his late mother. She quietly sat beside him and joined him in the prayer. It was revealed that his mother passed away when Mizuto was still a child, which is why he didn't have many memories of her. After that, they talked about what kind of gift they should give their parents. Then they decided to spend the night at their friends' houses so that their parents could enjoy a honeymoon. Yume would stay at Minami's house, while Mizuto would stay at Kawanami's. And conveniently, their houses were next to each other. While inside, Kawanami asked Mizuto how close he was with Yume. But since Mizuto refused to answer, Kawanami teased him by saying things that clearly provoked Yume. Hearing that, Yume became angry and hit the wall of Kawanami's apartment. Mizuto, not wanting to stay silent, got his revenge by reading Kawanami's personal diary aloud.
それはよせイリド将来の夢川波小暮暁ちゃんと結婚してずっと守っていきたいです
Later that night, Mizuto, unable to sleep, went out to the balcony for some fresh air. There, he saw Yume wearing a cute pajama that belonged to Minami. At that moment, they both remembered their first meeting, when they stood together under the night sky, enjoying the beauty of the full moon. The next day, Yume was seen studying math to prepare for the exam that would be held the next day. She studied hard, sacrificing her sleep in order to achieve first rank in her school. Unlike her, Mizuto seemed lazy in studying. He spent his time reading comics even though the exam was tomorrow. Because of this, Yume underestimated Mizuto. She was sure Mizuto would fail this time. However, when the exam results were handed out, Mizuto was the one who ranked first. Meanwhile, Yume came in second. Yume felt upset because her hard work seemed wasted. She thought her reputation would soon be ruined and believed her friends would avoid her because she failed to get first place. But it turned out she was wrong. Her friends grew closer to her, feeling jealous of Yumi's achievement. Then, when Yume went to the library, she saw Mizuto alone with a girl. Furthermore, they looked very close as Mizuto helped put on her socks. Then we see Yume feeling jealous after seeing Mizuto's closeness with the girl named Higashira. The next day, Yume started acting differently than usual. She became kind and even made lunch for Mizuto. Noticing something strange, Mizuto went to ask Yume why she'd been acting differently lately. There, Yume said she felt jealous of Higashira, who looked very close to Mizuto. Even though they were now siblings, thinking about their closeness broke Yume's heart. After learning this, Mizuto introduced Yume to Higashira so they could be friends. It was revealed that Mizuto and Higashira were just friends, nothing more. Mizuto didn't consider Higashira a girl he liked or had feelings for. Knowing this, Yume felt relieved because she no longer needed to be suspicious. A few days later, Higashira came over to Mizuto's house to hang out. Mizuto's parents were surprised to see their usually quiet son suddenly bringing a girl to his room. To make sure things didn't go too far, Yume decided to keep an eye on them. At one point, Higashira asked Mizuto to massage her shoulders. As Mizuto did so, Higashira deliberately made sounds that stirred Mizuto's mind. This annoyed Yume, who asked them to stop, but Higashira instead requested Mizuto to put on her socks for her. She had to ask because she was having trouble bending over due to her large assets. Later, when Yume escorted Higashira to the bathroom, she asked if Higashira had feelings for Mizuto. Higashira admitted she liked Mizuto, but had no intention of confessing, saying that just being his friend was enough for her. Afterwards, Yume went to Mizuto and asked him to help put on her socks, too.
ねえ履かせて